everyone, Karchermakes here. Welcome or welcome back. I'm Andrea coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, and this is just a place where I like to talk about all crafty things. So let's get into it. So first up, I just really want to thank everyone who has subscribed. I checked my analytics right before recording this, and I saw that I had over 700 subscribers. So y'all, just thank you so much. I'm so grateful for that. I know there's a lot of, great crafty content out here on YouTube, and the fact that, you're compelled to subscribe to mine and watch this, watch this little show a couple times a month, like it really warms my heart, and I can't thank you enough. For those of you who haven't subscribed yet, feel free, click the button. It's free. And all it does is it makes the content creators that you subscribe to, when they post new content, it will show up in your feed on YouTube. And it just makes it easier from having to go search for people or search for specific content. It's already there. And me, as you could see from my last video about lazy sock care, I'm lazy. I love that it just shows up in my feed. So I subscribe to a lot of people, and it just, again, it's easy. So thank you for that. I do have a goal to get to 1,000 subscribers, and if and when that ever happens, maybe there will be some prizes. Who doesn't love prizes? So give it a like, give it a subscribe, and hopefully we'll get there, and there will be some yarn. P.S. So let's talk about the projects that I have for you. So first thing is, I just spent the past week, I took the week off of work. I was kind of burned out and I needed some time off. So I took a week off and really spent the time working on my craft projects that I wanted to work on. I called it a little craftcation, if you will. So I took a trip to my local yarn store. I took a trip to the local sewing store. I took a trip to the Joann's to get fabric. And it was just really enjoyable. Like, I feel like I'm too young to retire at like this moment, but I feel like I would be great at retirement. So I'm practicing. It's practice retirement. So let's talk about my first finished object. And that's the other thing. Because I had a whole week off of work, I actually got some things done. So that's always nice. So let's talk about the first finished object that I have. And this is The Weekender by Andrea Mowry, Andrea Renee Knits. And I have thoughts about this finished object. So I'll insert better footage of what it looks like, on here. But the yarn is Plymouth yarn, Encore Tweed, and it's an acrylic wool rayon blend with these little kind of tweedy little neps that I'm a big fan of. I like tweedy yarn. I think it's fun. It adds a nice texture. And the color is just this gray, and it's called T789. Like, they're not super creative about color names. So that's the yarn. And I think my issue, I have a couple issues with the sweater, and they're me issues. They're not necessarily related to how the pattern is designed. But I have fuzz everywhere from this sweater, by the way. The issues that I have are things that I've done and choices that I've made, number one. Number two, I think if I were to remake this sweater, like if I was to make it again, I would make some different choices. So let's just talk about it. First off, I don't think a boxy fit garment with a lot of positive ease, which is what this sweater is about, right? It has, I think, it calls for 6 to 10 inches of positive ease, if I recall. A lot of positive ease. I don't love that look on my body. And I kind of knew that going into this. and I still made the sweater the same way anyway, and I should have made a different choice there. Second is I don't love a boat neck, and I know I talked about this before, but I don't love a boat neck. And although putting a collared shirt under it kind of mitigates some of my issues with a boat neck, it's still like, you know, super wide. And I think I can remedy this if I just kind of stitch some extra stitches together, and maybe that makes that better, but we'll see. We'll see if I end up doing that. But for the most part, it's really the positive ease aspect of this sweater that I don't love on me. And, you know, I looked at Ravelry project pages. And by the way, if you are somebody who takes the time to put project notes on your project pages in Ravelry, please know I appreciate that. I read them. If I start a pattern, I like going and looking at the notes first just to see what other people's thoughts are. Controversial opinion, real quick. I feel like this community tends to, you know, lean towards toxic positivity a little bit. And I personally like constructive criticism. And if something's messed up, I want to know that it's messed up. Like, not everything has to be a positive piece of feedback. So I know I messed up making the sweater. I made the second size. I probably should have made a smaller size, just knowing that it had so much positive ease that I wasn't going to love. I should have done that. The second thing I should have done is, again, with the neck, I should have planned a little better on how to mitigate the giant boat neck, and I didn't. Now, would I make the sweater again? Yes. Do I want to make it again? Also, yes. And what I'm thinking is get the same yarn, different color, obviously. I don't need two gray sweaters looking exactly the same or similar. Get the same yarn and make some modifications, and then kind of make it like a scientific experiment, right? You're comparing apples to apples by having similar yarn. Use the same needles, and then make some different choices as it relates to the neck, as it relates to the amount of positive ease, the size, and even the smallest size is big because it has all of that positive ease. So maybe I even make it like a tiny bit smaller and kind of account for it that way. So speaking of sweater fits, I just want to call out a YouTuber that I found recently, Candy B Knittin', and I will link her below. Amazing, smaller podcast, her projects. She just made the LaPouf cardigan, and I love it. I don't need another project, but when I saw her LaPouf cardigan, I was like, I need to make that. I don't need to make it. I don't have time to make it. But something she mentioned in her video that never occurred to me, I didn't know this, but she mentioned that a lot of sweater patterns and designs, they measure from the full bust, right? Which makes sense. It's your widest part. You need to be able to cover your widest part of your body. But when you introduce ease into that equation, if you're measuring from the widest part, right, and then you're adding positive ease to it, you're just making it wider and wider and wider. So what she had mentioned was, you know, measure from the top part of your bust. That way this part is fitted. Then when you account for the positive ease, or any ease at all for that matter, it'll drape and fit better. Mind blown, y'all. Mind blown. So that piece of information, coupled with the fact that, you know, again, I've identified some areas of improvement on this sweater, I do kind of want to make the sweater again and kind of take that into account and end up with a better product at the end. It's an idea. We will see if it ever happens. And if it does, we'll talk about it here. Okay, next up for finished objects, now that we're done talking about this sweater. So, like I mentioned, I was off work and I really wanted to make something super fast and quick. Look at this pumpkin, y'all. Look at this pumpkin. So I had posted a tiny little swatch of this on Instagram and was like, Can you guess what this is? And I had a lot of good guesses. A lot of guesses for hats and scarves. Nobody guessed pumpkin because who would guess that? This pattern is called the Gorgeous Pumpkin. Engourd, like G-O-U-R-D. Gorgeous. I love a pun. I love a play on words. Gorgeous Pumpkin by Adrienne Sullivan. I'm 98% sure that's correct. I'll correct it here if it's wrong. But here it is. And this is just some leftover big box yarn that I have. It's probably acrylic. But look how cute this is. And the stitch pattern that she uses, and I'm not sure like what it's called, if it has a name, but it makes these like little ridges, which is like the ridges on a pumpkin. And how cute is it? And then the stem is just an I-cord. Who knew an I-cord could make such a cute stem? So there's that. I am ready for fall. As far as I'm concerned, last Monday was Labor Day. As far as I'm concerned, fall starts on Tuesday. Tuesday after. The day after Labor Day, it's fall. Despite the 80-degree weather, it is fall. So there's that. He's going to live in my kitchen on my little cabinet. So that's cute. So next up, I talked about this on my last regular podcast episode, and it is the Westnet's Mystery Knit Along from 2023, the Geo Gradient. And I was asking y'all if I should trash or treasure it. Should I finish it or frog it? And, you know, a couple people said, if you don't love it, if it's not bringing you joy, frog it, get rid of it, make something else, spend your time elsewhere. And I agreed with that. But I got the overwhelming majority was, girl, just finish it. And I got some interesting comments that said, stop after clue 3. The way this design is, there's no need to do clue 4. Clue 4 is not an integral part of the architecture of this shawl. Just don't do clue 4. So I pulled it out. I spent a couple days on my Craftcation, and I at least finished the first side of clue 3. There it is. I think I was in this, where this marker is, I think I was in this area when you last saw it. So I finished that side of clue 3, and then I picked up for the second side of clue 3. And now that I'm doing it, this is the ironic part. Now that I'm doing it, I don't hate the stitch as much. Maybe I just built it up in my head so much that, oh my gosh, I don't love it. I don't like making the stitch, blah, blah, blah. That like I just really got into my head about it, and it was so unnecessarily dramatic, right? Like, so I picked it back up. I'm doing it. It doesn't suck that much. Like, I still don't really love doing all those slip stitches, but it's fine. So I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to finish clue 3, see how I feel. We're going to see. If I feel like I want to do clue 4, I'll do clue 4. If I don't feel like I'm doing clue 4, you will see this in the future as a finished object without it. So there it is. It will be finished. This has become treasure, no trash. Okay, so I also decided that I'm going to be doing after all that drama, right? I'm going to do the 2024 Mystery Knit Along. I wasn't even going to think about it. And then I saw his graphic, the Go-Go Dynamo graphic, and I was like, oh, no, I need to do it. So I'm going to do it, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, let's talk charity knitting. So again, Craftcation week, I spent some time at my local yarn store, You and Me. They're in York, Pennsylvania. Fabulous store. If you want local hand-dyed yarn, if you need commercial yarn, if you want some of the kind of popular, I guess, commercial yarns, Noro, that kind of stuff, they have it. They have such great stock of yarn and notions and needles. They have different types of needles. Like anything you could possibly need for knitting or crochet, like you can get it there. Amazing store, love it. So one of the people that worked there and started the store with the owner, passed away last year, or maybe it was earlier this year, from cancer. And what they're doing in her memory is a charity hat knit along for the local hospital. So I heard that and I was like, oh, that's amazing. Yes, I need to do that in memory. So I started a hat, and this yarn is just some of my hand-dyed yarn. I called this color Castello de Mare, which is a reference to a trip to Greece that I took 1,000 years ago. And the hat pattern that I'm following is from Happy Little Yarn, Amy. She's here on YouTube too. And it's a free pattern. And it's called the Enchanted Evening Cap. And what it is a folded brim, I think that's what it's called, hat, where you just cast on, you don't do any ribbing. But then once you get to a certain length, you fold it up and then you pick up the stitches. And then what it does is it makes a nice little kind of flat brim instead of having the ribbing, which I kind of like as a, like, to wear as a design choice. I like that. I've never done it before. This is going to be the first time. So we're going to see how that works. But really excited. It's ready to be picked up. I did all of this yesterday. I cast this on last night. We went out and listened to a band play, and I was knitting the whole time. And this singer comes up to me after the fact, and he's like, was I okay? Like, was I okay? Was my show okay? You were knitting the whole time. And I was like, oh no, I just do that. Like, it has nothing to do with you. I loved your singing. So that was funny. But so this is going to be going to charity. I want to try to make at least 2 hats to drop off by the end of the month so that they can get over to the cancer center. And I'll keep you posted on how that goes. But yeah, love it. I love how this is pulling. I know that's a very polarizing thing. I love pulling. Okay, up next. So I talked a little bit about wanting to do this in a prior video, and I think we finally come to the point where I have the opportunity to do it. So, 1, football season is here, or as I like to refer to it as, yelling at TV season, because we're a Ravens household and there is a lot of TV yelling during the games. Even if they're doing well, there's still a lot of TV yelling. And I had saw on Instagram that one of my favorite dyers, Rising Tide Fiber Co., this is not sponsored, I'm just a fangirl, posted this Ravens flock yarn. And y'all, you know I had to, right? You know I had to. And it was a sock set, came with 2 colors, purple and black, of course, because Ravens, right? And it's very similar to the bird watching yarn that was Orioles themed. It's this very subtle speckles, and this one happens to be the purple and black, where that one was orange and black. But here we are, and I started a sock. I haven't had socks on the needles for like weeks, maybe even a month. Been a while since I've had a sock on the needle. So I started this little cuff here, it's just 2x2 cuff, and then I did both colors. And this little football progress keeper is from Twin Mountain Handcrafts. So what I want to do with this, I talked a little bit about this. I want to do a video about how to design your own sock. I think that would be fun. Who doesn't want to design their own sock? I mean, if you are a sock knitter, like, yeah, you can go get a sock pattern, but wouldn't it be fun to make one yourself? So what I'm going to do is I have a stack of stitch dictionaries, and we're going to go through the stitch dictionaries. We're going to find some patterns that we like, and I'm going to talk about how to fit the pattern into a sock. And on the surface, that seems very simple and easy, but in reality, like, you have a finite number of stitches on a sock that you need for the fit to be correct. So sometimes you may need to slightly modify or greatly modify a pattern from a stitch dictionary to make it work for a sock. And we're going to go through that whole process. I don't know. I think it'll be fun. If you think it's going to be fun too, make sure you subscribe so that you get the notification when it goes up. But I'm going to be working on that. And I haven't even like thought about it yet, but we have the cuff. We're going to find a good pattern and then we're going to make a sock. Now, because I love a theme, I do love a theme, I had to make, because I don't have one, I had to make a bag for my Raven socks to live in. And as I mentioned in the last podcast video, I recently got a sewing machine and I made a bag, another bag. My local Joanne Fabrics had this Raven's fabric, which is actually the same as this fabric that I made last year, this kind of sack. But they still had this fabric in stock, so I got more of it. And then for Halloween, they had like all these like black and white and purple prints. So I went ahead and picked those up. And I made this drawstring bag, which I sort of love it. I sort of love it. And then here's the other side. It's kind of similar, just different kind of patchwork. Now, don't look too closely. My sewing is still not that great, but how fun is this? And it's just a drawstring at the top. And then it even has, I don't know if you can see that, it's really dark, but it has a pocket on the inside. So the pattern that I used for this, it was less of a pattern and more of a tutorial. So when I had posted about getting the sewing machine on Instagram, Ambi Marie Nets, she's also here on YouTube, so go check her out. I'll link her below. She messaged me and recommended another YouTuber for some good sewing tutorials. And this is an Erica Arndt, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, tutorial, and it's called the Squishy Bag 2. I guess there's like a first version and this is the second version. I just did the second version. So Squishy Bag 2, and it's just, again, a drawstring bag, but also patchwork for my Raven socks to live in. And I love it. I love being able now to kind of make bags to go with each project. My boyfriend was like, you don't need to make a bag every time you make a project. I disagree. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. Right, so last up, I mentioned going to You and Me, my local lovely yarn store, and I went there with the intention of getting yarn for the West Knits make-along for this year, the Go-Go Dynamo. And what kind of intrigued me this year with the kind of information that he put out, the prep video, is that it's only 2 colors. So when I originally thought about doing the make along this year, I was like, I can pull from stash. I have plenty of stash. I'll just pull from stash. But then he was like, oh, hey, only 2 colors, but you need 2 skeins of each. So even though I have a lot of stash, especially sock yarn, fingering weight yarn, I only have single skeins. I don't have matching sets. So I had to go on a shopping trip and went to You and Me. There were so many good options, and I'll try to put a little footage at the end here of me attempting to pick the yarn, and the owner of You and Me, Joan, bless her heart, she was so patient with me. I was like, what about this? What about this? What about these colors? What about this pattern? What about this speckle with this solid? And she was lovely. But where I landed, and I'm just gonna grab 2 of these, it's a little awkward with all 4. Where I landed was Frogget Yarns. This green is called Fern, which is a perfect description for it. And this is called Winter White. And I know on camera, I'm looking at the screen here, it very much looks white. It is not. It is the tiniest bit of greenish gray, and it's just super subtle, but also kind of tonal at the same time, which sounds really odd and weird. It's very hard to describe, but I thought that was so pretty, and I wanted to find a color to go with this, and what better color than, you know, this green, and obviously I have the other two here. But I thought this green would be so pretty, and because there's so much contrast between these two, I don't have to worry about them blending too much. And then, by the way, I had to get this little progress keeper. How cute is that cat? Look at that. Joan actually makes these and sells them there at the store. I thought that was adorable. But, so I have my make-along yarn ready to go. We're ready for Go Dynamo. Now I just have to be patient and wait for October to get here and maybe finish last year's process. So there is that. Now, I know Steven this year is including a mohair dare if you so choose. And to be honest, I don't love mohair. I made a hat with mohair. It's kind of itchy to me. Don't love it. Don't love it. But here's what I did. And I don't know if this is going to happen or not. It's really going to depend on the pattern. And obviously it's a mystery knit along, so we don't know yet. I got this one. So this is also Frogget Yarns, and it is beach chairs. First of all, like these speckles, y'all. Look at these speckles. I am someone who is still in love with speckled yarn. I know that was very trendy, kind of like maybe 8 or 9 years ago. I still love speckles. I am team speckle all the way. So this is called, did I say beach chairs? So what I'm gonna do, depending on what this pattern looks like, is instead of doing the mohair dare, maybe when he's like, hey, this section of the pattern, this is where you can do your mohair dare, maybe I put this in. Maybe I put this in instead. So not a mohair dare, but a speckle dare. How about that? I don't know. I'm not sure. We're not going to know until we cross that bridge, right? So the other idea with this is, I know Steven loves doing I-cord bind-offs. Maybe this becomes an I-cord bind-off if we go that route. I don't know. Either way, it's amazing and I love it, and it's at least going to become a pair of socks. So there's that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thank you again for subscribing. I truly appreciate that. And, you know, stay tuned for more content coming up. So I'm going to be working on that design your own sock video. I don't think it needs to be a series. I think I can get it done in one video. So I'm going to be working on that. That will be coming soon. And until then, until next time, happy making. Hey y'all, so today is Saturday and my Craftcation adventure for the day is coming to York, Pennsylvania, and I'm gonna visit my friends at You and Me Yarn Shop, and my goal is to find yarn for the West Knits make along. I know in my last video we talked all about the last year. Should I finish it? Should I trash it? Like, what do I do with last year's make along? And what I've decided is that I am gonna finish it at least through clue 3. Someone gave a really good recommendation, actually a couple people did, to just finish through clue 3, see how I feel. It can be done after clue 3. I don't need to add clue 4 to it. So I may do that, but I saw Steven's like advertising for this year's make along, the Go Dynamo, and just the thought of like a super graphic, the way he's describing it, shawl sounds right up my alley. Now the issue is that it requires 2 colors, so 2 skeins each of 2 colors, 2 full 100-gram skeins, and I do have a lot of fingering weight. I don't have matching skeins, so here we are at the yarn store. Let's go.